I'm gonna double check we are good to go on YouTube. Sometimes it streams and then YouTube doesn't do nothing. So
that's all good. No worries. You do your thing. You let me know when you're ready, and I'll be ready.
Baller. All right. Good to go. We good to go. We are good to go. Fuck yeah. All right.
Hey.
Let's go, guys. We have got started. I'm super pumped to be here. Welcome to the Joyage Kingdom. And Cage, your guide, will be replacing the little voice inside your head for now, giving you a break from the constant internal monologue that is the human mind. I want to say first, thank you for listening or viewing on whatever platform you're on. If you haven't already, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, join the kingdom. Thank you for being here live. Today I'm joined by Lewis Gale, VOLTURA, you guys probably know him as, Basie, I can't remember the exact name, but founder of Psychedelic Anonymous. So, dude, thank you for being here. I really appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Thank you for the invitation. It means a lot.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Well, we had some technical difficulties, and we appreciate everyone being here. There's like 30 of y'all in here. Guys, run them up. If you guys have any specific questions, I asked you guys on Twitter to ask them, but if you guys also want to drop them in the chat, if there's any good ones, we'll try and answer them. Don't ask me anything weird. Don't ask for like specific alpha on the Psychedelic Anonymous and like the roadmap in 6 months. We're not going to talk about that stuff. But anyways, dude, so you guys launched a super long time ago. I was able to watch the podcast you did with Zeneca. That was a super epic episode, which, by the way, you guys never did a part 2. Is that going to happen?
We haven't. We've been trying to organize a part 2 for a while. I think we actually might end up doing the part 2 on Friday this week, because the biggest struggle is time zone, man. Like, if I'm living across the other side of the world, the biggest problem is everyone's like, oh, let's do this. And I'm like, cool, that's 2 a.m. for me. I'm like, my routine ends at like 9:30 p.m. I get up at 4:45 in the morning. Like, that does not work. So I think the biggest thing to hold that back is timing, which is always a struggle.
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, one of the funny stories that I was listening to during that pod is when you were talking about the fact, because this shit reminded me of me. I'm very much like, I don't know how to say this. So basically, you were talking about how you guys did the whitelist originally, and you basically screenshotted individually all these people, then just put them in a Dropbox or something, like caveman style or something. Is that? I assume things are different a little bit now. Like how much has changed since like the very, very beginning pre-mint of Psychedelic Anonymous versus how things are run now? Is it run very differently, or is it still kind of like we just do things manually like that?
Oh, like so many different ways, but also some things are genuinely the same, right? Like I think it's an experience of scaling, which some people have the experience of doing and some people don't. And a lot of people, for the first time ever, they have to scale a business quite quickly, especially if they go really well in NFTs. So back when we were doing the whitelist stuff initially, my just idea at the time, like we were just running with it, like we're figuring it out as we go. Like you and I both know, whenever you do something the first time, it's always a bit sketchy, right? Like you're not 100% sure how to do the thing properly and most efficiently. And at that given point in time, my idea, the concept in my head was, okay, well, we need to know who these people are on Twitter after the fact. So if I just screenshot them, then surely we can track them down later.
Yeah.
And then that was what we did. And realistically, in hindsight, I guess it worked, sure, but it was a really hard slog getting it to the finish line. And we got there, and that was great, but it was difficult. But in terms of how that's sort of impacted on us now, there's a lot of things that we're used to doing. Like, let's use an example, right? Every time we do a technical claim, like whether it's a new component or a new piece of the collection or whatever it may be, we've never missed a deadline. We've never had a technical problem. We've never had an issue. All right.
So you're telling me this podcast is the very first time you've had a technical issue?
I think this podcast is the first time I've had technical issues in the scale of something that's not complicated. And it's mostly because I'm trying to stay off hotel Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
That's okay. We'll make an exception, right? But for technical claims and for the technical side of NFTs and Web3, like we've never made a mistake, right? Not on literal wood. But that's because we're used to doing that. I did that for a business. We did that for a business for years. We did technical execution, so it's not a strange thing to us. But then as an example, if you want to contrast it to something completely new and also relevant, we had obviously a merchandise shipment of, I think it's like 2,500 orders with 2 T-shirts, a cap, and 2 pairs of socks. And that has been a struggle. That's been something that we have learned a lot from. and it's late, and everyone knows it's late, and even people like Adidas have had the same sort of logistical problems. And so if you contrast and compare that back to how we handled the whitelist in the beginning, it's the same thing. We were doing it for the first time. We didn't know exactly how we were going to do it, right? But we had a good idea, and we deployed resources to do it. Now, would we do it differently in future? Absolutely. But that's just part of learning, right?
Right. Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I guess so with like FUD and random things, like it's just weird that I saw a couple comments asking about, I don't know, there's some kind of hater in here. I don't know what he's saying, but the interesting about FUD, because I have a very small art project. Like mine's more specific on like supporting a creator, podcaster, show host trying to grow in this space, right? So it's just like 40 art NFTs, something like that, very small collection. And even on the smallest scale, like doing things like merch or even like a whitelist giveaway and collecting addresses, it's a lot more handiwork and a lot more bullshit that you have to jump through and hoops, and there's all these like random things that you wouldn't know that you have to deal with. And I know that you guys had VOLTURA Labs as the original business behind, and you've run that company for a while, way before NFTs. Tell me about the difference, because we have like shareholders, right, with these NFT holders, and I don't know what percentage of them are educated in anything as far as like finance, or if they've ever bought stocks, if they've ever invested before. But it's a very different style of investor that you're trying to keep happy, because you don't know if they're a 14-year-old kid using their mom's credit card, or a 40-year-old man or woman who's like got 20 years experience investing. And what has it been like for you guys managing that, managing FUD, managing just like issues like that? Like I read all the different updates for the past 6 months as like an economist to prepare for this. But you guys had, for the most part, you guys are crushing it,
Look, I think it's expectations management is always a thing. And people have different expectations in different markets. Whenever you talk to a CEO of a public company, as an example, where they have a board of shareholders and a board of directors, when the price is going up, no one says anything. No one says thanks. No one says congrats. It's just sort of like, great, it's going up, we're happy. But then when the price isn't going up, there's a lot of people try and tell you immediately what to do and how to operate and what changes you can make. Now, when it comes to NFTs, simply because we are obviously trading an NFT, and an NFT is a very new concept for a lot of people. And most importantly, it's not a security. And technically these people are holders, and they're, speculatively investing, I guess. And they're not technically shareholders, right? They're people that are buying something speculatively for an outcome or access. And it's our job to provide an outcome and to provide access. So when you have to deal with a majority of people where you don't know their backgrounds, you don't know where they're from or what their opinions are, then that's something you just have to manage.
Yeah.
A lot of people come in at times with a lot of lacking context, or people come in at times with, the idea of a certain outcome that they believe was supposed to be achieved, and it may have not aligned with their expectations, and therefore they're not happy. But especially when we come into a market like we are today, where there's, Ethereum's down, 60 to 70%. Most NFT projects are down pretty bad from all-time highs. You have this innate feeling of emotion that runs through people. And that can lead to a lot of different outcomes in terms of what they believe, how they think, how they feel. And everyone is completely, valid in terms of their feelings and emotions and thoughts. That's completely up to them. And there's no one else that should tell them that otherwise.
Yeah.
However, it's something you have to manage as a project founder. Obviously, if there's ever an issue, you're the one that has to be accountable for that. And where we have made mistakes, because we have, of course we have, we're human. We've always been accountable for them to make sure that, hey, we realize this didn't go the way we planned, and we'll be able to in future go in a different direction to make sure that that doesn't happen again. As long as you have that understanding and that accountability, then that's something you can push forward with. Because at the end of the day, we're in a space where there is supposed to be a support of technology and technological advancements, right? We are in Web 3. It's called Web 3 for a reason. And anyone here who's trying to do something different, who's trying to use this environment to build something of benefit to others, realistically should be supported. Now, are the majority of those things going to fail? For sure, absolutely. That's how tech works. That's how life works as well. However, if you decide to go on the ride with that individual and participate, then ultimately that's your choice, and you're betting on that person to be able to deliver. Now, no one's perfect, and we're certainly not. However, we'll do our very best to make sure that we can deliver what we said we're going to deliver to the degree of which we wanted to deliver in the first place. And that's the most important part, that intent.
Yeah, 100%. So how's your actual like day-to-day role? Has it changed at all since the beginning, as far as like when you wake up and start doing things? Has that changed since you guys started? I know you guys have launched multiple projects, all under VOLTURA and Psychedelic Anonymous, but how's your role changed, if at all?
Good question. So with the project, so the biggest thing that I think a lot of people need to, and I think this again stems back to changes, right? When we started doing the whitelist strategy back in sort of, I think it was late October, early November 2021, we got a lot of people that were really unhappy with us. We had a lot of influencers that messaged us to tell us, to stop, or, that we were spamming, or that it was botted, or, there was things wrong. And that is something that comes with when you make a lot of noise, you ruffle some feathers.
Yeah.
So when we were doing that, it was something different. And that is how we've always treated NFTs. We've always wanted to do something different. I've never wanted to do the stock standard thing. Like, we are in Web3. We're supposed to be doing things differently. So for our company structure, the way it works is we have obviously VOLTURA Labs at the top, right? And that's the company that owns everything. And that company, if you think about it, stems down into the Psychedelics Anonymous NFT collection. Now, the NFT collection, or the project Psychedelics Anonymous, has sub-collections within it. It has a total of 8 NFTs in circulation. Well, 7 at the moment, it will be 8. And that is because we decided to break down, instead of having one NFT, we wanted to break down the utility into multiple. And that allowed people to trade within the ecosystem. So based on news, based on events, based on updates, based on equations, based on game theory, they could intertrade the actual ecosystem without having to leave it. Because from our perspective, it was less risky for someone to intertrade an ecosystem than go and just like degen into some random project that might be a rug.
Yeah.
So when it comes to how we structure the company, we also decided, I didn't want to do a companion collection. The natural next step for a lot of people is to do a companion collection. We've seen it with like Cool Cats, Deadfellas. We've seen it with World of Women. We saw it with Bored Ape Yacht Club. We saw it with all these different collections, right? And they all did it at different times. However, my perception of that is that it didn't ultimately lead to any greater good. It was sort of expanding for the sake of expanding. Yeah. And that's not what we wanted to do. So again, take us back to 2021 in sort of October. The team and I were sort of thinking, what can we do here differently? And that's where we were like, all right, well, we want an NFT project to back a product. And that's when, the next NFT project for us, which is easier, came out, right? And that's how that's structured. So then pivot that into my role on a daily basis. It's changed massively. At the beginning, I was hands-on with everything. Every decision, every thought, every graphic, every piece of content that floated by that was going to be published, it needed my eyes and my hands on it to work with the team to make it happen. But now, as we're growing, quite quickly, there's obviously a lot more people at play. For instance, I used to pay the bills, right? Like back in the beginning, I was the one paying bills. We don't pay bills anymore. Like our CFO pays bills, like I used to be the one approving graphics. Now that is solely up to our creative director and the creative team to approve those things. And I guess that's a streamline of efficiency to make sure that we are able to deliver what we need to deliver at scale, because ultimately I can't be the bottleneck for this whole thing. So I think anyone's role who's been in a similar position to me has quite rapidly changed over, a 6 to 7 month period. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine a lot has changed, because I don't know how many employees you had at VOLTURA Labs, but I want to talk a little bit about Adam. One of your friends even talked about for a while. I want to know more about him, because one of the things that is interesting is that most projects, I would say most projects don't do well, especially short to midterm, and you guys crushed it short, mid, and long term. what do you think are like the key factors, or like maybe key players' specific roles that lead to not fucking up, I guess? And was Adam like a key role in there? Was there very specific roles that made it possible?
Yeah, I think key roles and key relationships, right? So as an example, Adam and I have been working together for about 7 years. And we've been through it. You know, like we've started companies before, we've had late nights, we've had early mornings, like we've been stress tested. Like our relationship has been incredibly stress tested, and we can rely on one another to do something when it needs to be done. And that, I think that relationship is ultimately one of the most important things when it comes to delivering at a high scale, at a high speed as well.
Yeah.
So that I think realistically, I don't think it's necessarily a role. I think it's more of a relationship, because NFTs is a brutal game. It's a very, very brutal game. The reason why we're where we're at now, and of course, could our position be better than, you know, where we're at absolutely currently today? Of course it could. And I think since we're seeing a general sort of slowdown in NFTs as a whole, we're seeing a lot of things come off the boil. You're seeing a lot of sort of teams unravel. And that relationship that we had to go into this, me and Adam specifically, like we knew that we were up for a fight. We knew that we had to work really, really hard to make this happen and to make this work over a, you know, 6 to 9 to 12 month and so on period of time. And that relationship allowed us to push, because at times when I was fatigued and times where I was, you know, super stressed and we were, you know, I was having issues, you know, Adam would step up and he'd take over, like, you know, he'd take the plate and be like, we got this, you know, and make it happen. And again, same for him. So there's times where he's been overwhelmed and he's been not okay, or he's been sick. And then it's my job to step up and take that reign. So I think that relationship is one of the most important, because what we see quite often in NFTs is relationship breakdown that ends up public. You know, business agreement that went sour. You know, founder, co-founder agreement that went wrong. This happens often, and because it's Twitter and because it's NFTs, people see it more often, and it sort of becomes public. Now, is there going to be a relationship breakdown between me and Adam? Chances are no, because
I thought you were about to like drop some shit. Like I thought you were about to drop some news. Like, and me and Adam have completely split. And I was just like, oh,
like, yeah, you know, like chances are no.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. VOLTURA got rugged. Here we go. He's back. Hold on. I want to make sure his video doesn't pop up though. One sec, fam. All right, we should be good here. I'm gonna. All right, fam, he's going to be right back. I think it may be a Wi-Fi issue. Guys, if you want to run up the like button while we're waiting on him. Oh, he might be back. Let's see if his audio is back on.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, we're back. We're back. Getting rugged.
Oh, did we get rugged for a second?
I think we did. Yeah. Well, did you notice?
I didn't notice. I heard you fine.
Oh, shit. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, it got rugged for like just a second. It says your connection 0, but it doesn't sound like your connection 0. It looks totally fine. Oh, we're back. We're back. Connection's back on. Okay, fire.
Okay, we're good. Where did I leave you? What point did I leave you at?
I had just thought you were about to drop information that you and Adam had split up or something, and then we were talking about people like dropping information and then immediately Twitter getting all the information and people speculating. Actually, that is a specific question about that I wanted to ask. Since you've been in charge of a business for so long, what are your thoughts on when something happens publicly, maybe, or maybe it wasn't public and then it has to become public, or someone goes out and says something and now it's a big thing and now you have to comment on it? Because for entertainment value, of course, I understand what they're like. What do you have to say about this thing that happened three hours ago? And the answer is obviously going to be something like, okay, I don't know. I gotta like figure it out. I'll give you a real answer in like 2 to 3 weeks, but they need an answer right now. Does that really fuck up the project? Like, is it? I don't really know what I'm trying to ask. Just like what your thoughts are on that, trying to answer a question about something that just happened.
Look, I think it's a very different dynamic, okay? Because in any other private business, there's no such thing as that. Doesn't exist, right? Like private businesses can fuck up internally and no one will know except for the people internally. And most of the people internally won't even know.
Mhm.
Now, public companies can have the same issue. Public companies can absolutely fuck up. And, people will know, but they'll know with time. There's annual reports that have to go out. There's things that take time. I don't know if you're familiar with a company called F45, but
I am.
it was Australian gym franchise, right? And everyone thought they were doing fantastic. And then the earnings report came out for the last quarter and it was just terrible. And it just was like a bloodbath.
It was? Oh shit. I did not know that. I've got many trainers who work at F. Shit.
Yeah, like it was an absolute bloodbath, right? So
wow.
So like you have to deal with it in a different way. And it's something that a lot of people aren't familiar with. Now, is it a good thing? I think it forces a lot of transparency quite quickly, but it also opens a dialogue that sometimes can't necessarily be healthy.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of speculation. Like, the other day, and I spoke to the Nifty guys on the Nifty podcast about this the other day, when we were doing a marketing campaign for Izu, there was a bit of a miscommunication with one of the influencers, and they said that they were getting something out of it where all the other ones weren't, and there was a miscommunication, right? And these things happen because we're human. And I think someone, screenshot and was like, "Who's lying? Like, who's lying here? Is it him? Is it him?" Like, and it's like, oh, dude, like, no one's lying, okay? Like, there's no malicious intent here. No one wants a bad outcome. Like,
Yeah.
there's no point. Like, we're not going to risk being malicious like that. There's no point. So, I think a lot of it jumps to conclusions, and there's a lot of speculation as well, and a lot of gossip, and that just comes with NFT and crypto Twitter, and you've got to take it. It just is what it is. But I think it does sort of inspire transparency, and that is a good thing. That is a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think that probably the biggest example is likely Elon Musk. I just watched his Tesla quarterly report or whatever meeting it was with all the shareholders, and it was very interesting because I feel like you have no choice but to update people all the time. And I feel like he does a. I don't even want to put a number on like how good he is or how good he isn't. But it's weird that like the CEO of a massive company, or honestly, every single position ever. Like I remember when Trump was president, he's sitting out there tweeting stuff left and right on random Tuesday night. And that's like how people are communicating nowadays. And it doesn't look like that world is leaving anytime soon. Like I said this on a podcast like last week, the idea that we're not going back to the caveman days. Like we're not going to go backwards at this point. Like, we've already crossed over into this transparency age where everyone wants all the information to everything now. And so like that's where we're headed. I don't know where the next step is from this. Like I think that's why we all kind of just decided that the metaverse is next. Like that is just the natural evolution of this, just what this is, but in a virtual world where we're running around in our PFPs and stuff. But what are your thoughts on the future of this world?
Look, I think transparency and information flow will be one of the most important things developed over the next couple of years, especially when we've seen really serious world events happen like COVID. There was a serious information battle there. People were posting things, saying things. They may have been correct. They may have been wrong. Everyone had their freedom to their opinion. But the real issue was a miscommunication or misinformation being spread really quickly because, by nature of news, bad news spreads faster than good news. That's just a fundamental truth of life. So when there is bad news, that means that it fundamentally spreads. Now, is that bad news true? That's always a hard question. Like, is it factually correct? So I think where are we heading in terms of like the world and transparency? I personally believe that news needs to be more curated by individuals rather than groups, because then it has less control. I think we all could probably agree on that. I think, some corporations control narrative quite easily, and that has a huge influence on our population in a big way. However, I also do think that metrics that stack on information flow can be a troubling thing. So as an example, when something bad happens in the world, right? So say, let's talk about when the invasion of Ukraine happened. So when that happened, obviously everyone jumped on it really, really quickly.
Yeah, very
and
fast.
there's a reason why people jump on those things though, because their Twitter account or their Facebook account or their YouTube page or whatever it may be, their platform that has ranked with, likes, comments, subscribers, whatever it may be,
hmm
the success of that platform and the success of the individual behind it is based upon the popularity of the content they put out. So if something comes out and they think it's true and they've done no research and they just slap it out into the ecosystem, they may be rewarded with likes, follows, comments, whatever it is, and attention. But that information isn't, delivered to be true. It isn't necessarily pushed forth to be accurate. This person who's pushed it out doesn't necessarily, it's not that they care that it's accurate or not. It's just that they have an ulterior motive, right? They have the motive of they want to have the interactions, they want to have the engagement, they want to have the likes, they want to have the comments, the follows. And that is a dangerous thing because we are then using information as a tool to get attention for ourselves. And then that's how realistically misinformation spreads so popularly, but so quickly, because sometimes the misinformation is so wild and so outrageous that people read it and they go, whoa, that's nuts. And then they share.
They want to believe it, bro. I swear to God, like they want all these, like I can admit to this. Like sometimes I'll see something and I almost wish it's true just because it's so ridiculous. Because we're seeing all these ridiculous feats being happened, like all these content creators, especially like a Jake Paul character who just does something and you're just like, excuse me, what did you do? Like they're selling out massive stadiums. Like people are doing the extreme impossible now, and I think people are addicted to that. It's like when you see a fight happening on the street, like you cannot help but watch it. Like you want to see something happen. It's like human psychology.
You want to engage in it,
Yeah.
and that's, so I think that's where we'll eventually head, I'm hoping, is a place where people aren't rewarded based on information flow. I think there should be a way to track information flow and knowledge that doesn't reward the individual per se in the way it does today, because then we may have a more accurate sense of what is actually happening in the world. How that happens, I have no idea. However, is it necessary? Yeah, it's totally necessary.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think, with the metaverse as an example, look, I think the metaverse as an adoption, and as a world is definitely going to be taken up. All right, because look at the human population. We are naturally lazy. Naturally, we are lazy people, right? That's why these apps, that get us, whatever we want, whenever we want, like Uber Eats and DoorDash and whatever, like those apps work because it is convenient and it allows us to do things without having to go somewhere. The metaverse will allow us to communicate and interact with people at scale internationally without leaving our couch or our living room or our bedroom. And that is something that will be popular. It's no brainer. However, whoever delivers on that properly, that is something that we're still we're waiting to see how that works and what that looks like.
Dude, have you seen the movie WALL-E?
I haven't actually.
Oh my God. Okay. It's basically what you just described. It's a bunch of people who it's like hundreds of years in the future, and we're on these digital wheelchair things. We just have a screen. We get handed milkshakes and fries, and we do nothing all day because that's like basically the metaverse. But then I see other options like an Avatar or a Ready Player One, where it's a little bit more engaging. I know Ready Player One. Well, I can't remember exactly how it is, but like with Avatar, you're sitting inside of a bath, basically, or like a little, not a bath, but like a machine. You sit there, then your mind gets imported into this game world. But you also have things like Pokemon Go, which is like augmented reality. Are you a fan? Like, do you want augmented reality to be a thing, like how you were saying, or like, are we headed to an inevitable future where we are just able to do whatever we want at the click of a button? Like, is that really the future that we're headed to? And if we do, are there going to be an opposite response of people that try and make something that's opposite of that? But obviously, I don't think that's going to bring any kind of attention because people want what's easier, like you just said.
Okay, people want what's easier. That's a fundamental truth of society. So whatever the easiest solution is, will be the one that is adopted quickly and the most. Right? That is my fundamental belief. Will there be a group of people that absolutely oppose everything to do with that? Yes, there will be, for sure. In terms of augmented reality, I think augmented reality is sort of like a middle ground, right? I think it's a while between us now where we are and sitting in a room with a chair and screens and plugging in and being like an actual virtual person. I think we're obviously pretty far away from that. However, augmented reality provides users an experience, that is more digital and more immersive than what we're currently used to. Things like projections off phones, or like looking at using glasses and looking at a magazine cover, and the magazine cover sort of coming out and playing music, and it's like an in-between step.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see a lot more adoption of that quite quickly, because it will be involved in the items and the things that we use on a daily basis. Like it'll be with our phones, it'll be with our computers, it'll be there. But the metaverse, like the full-on metaverse, sit in a chair eating popcorn while being an absolute different human, that I think we're far away from that. But I don't think it's not going to happen. I think the lazier option will always be chosen by human and society, as long as it's available and it's cost effective and scalable. Who is going to do that though? That's a really good question.
Yeah, dude, Vitalik Buterin put out a thing about, he said he doesn't think any of the front runners right now will be it. And that was so interesting to me, because it is similar to like, I know everyone likes to go to this example, but if you go to like the beginning of the tech talk era, it would be like trying to choose who's going to be here in 2022, 25 years ago. And it's like, that's really not possible, because it's not going to look the same as it does in 20 years. It's not going to be, it's an entirely different landscape. And how you're saying about just like natural laziness, I totally agree with you there. Speaking of people who are not lazy, Tom Young's another fellow NFT YouTuber. He says he doesn't know if you remember at the PA event with Minnie and Zerk, NFT Zerk, another YouTuber, when he made Zerk put on Voltura's jacket and pretend to be him on a Sony Handycam, this vintage camera. Do you remember that?
I think I do remember that, actually.
He's a British dude, and then they're both from England.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, no, I think I do. God, that was such a wild time, simply because it was 4 days long. Like we did a 4-day long event. I was exhausted.
Wait, you were going for 4 days straight?
We had a space in New York for 4 days, from 9 a.m. till 10 p.m. every night.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Goddamn.
It was the house. We called it the PA house. It was great fun. It was exhausting though.
Yeah, tell me about that. Are you naturally like an introvert, naturally extroverted? Like, how was that event for you?
Like, look, naturally speaking, I'm pretty introverted. Like I definitely need my alone time. I need to, recharge. Like I have a very, very specific routine when I'm in Australia, and like when I'm in Australia, like no one, not that people really know me here, quote unquote, but like, no one knows me in Australia. No one knows what I do. Like it's very small place. It's very sort of, closed off in a sense. And I've got a very specific routine that I follow to make sure that I can be productive and do the work that I need to do. So when I get put into a circumstance or a party situation where there's, 400, 500, 600 people there, and all those people know who I am and who Psychedelics Anonymous is and what the project means and what we're doing. Like it's a very interesting environment, because I have to, all these people are like family to me. Like I want to spend time with them. I want to be friendly with them. I want to talk to all of them. I want to shake their hand. Like, I want to meet these people, and I've always wanted to do that. And at any event I go to, I make sure I spend as much time as possible being with everyone. I don't want to sit in a corner with a group of select people and just be there all night. That means nothing to me. I want to make sure I'm there and I'm talking to everyone, because that's a good way to get, feedback as well. Like, people give us feedback, and I will always take that. So when I do that, it does exhaust me, but I do love it. And I do just need some time to recharge afterwards and become, get back to my normal self. But look, it's definitely something that takes me out of my comfort zone. Same with speaking on stage. I've done a few speaking on stage things now.
Oh, have you? Cool.
And like grabbing a microphone for the first time and standing up in front of a couple hundred people again is like, for the first time it was a little bit daunting, and now I'm used to it. But you know, these are all things that push us outside of our comfort zone, and that's how we grow. Like, if you're comfortable, you're not doing something that's pushing you, and if you're not pushing yourself, then what are you really doing?
Yeah, I agree, dude. So hold on, what time was the Psychedelic Anonymous event every day, you said?
So it was the 21st to the 24th, I believe. And it was so it opened up at 9 a.m. and we had breakfast there for people that wanted to have breakfast. And then it closed, I think for three of the nights, it closed at 10 p.m. and the other nights it closed at 7. So the idea and the concept was that we had an open bar from 4 p.m. to at least 7 p.m., which sort of got everyone started, like, and mingling and chatting. And then they all went off to their relevant events, because there was an event on every night, you know, and we didn't want to take up a night and compete. So we decided to just do pre-drinks for everyone instead.
Dude, that's the move. It always gets ugly at the end of the night. So you guys made a good move right there.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was fun. Like, will we do things differently next time? Yeah, definitely. Like, again, same thing. Was I 100% comfortable with throwing a 4-day long event, you know, like for hundreds and hundreds of people? Like, no. Did we have a great event company handling it with us? Yes. Was it still challenging? Absolutely. When I do it again, you know, will we change things? Yeah, for sure. Like, this is just part of pushing boundaries and part of doing something, you know?
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. I did a podcast with Discord manager for VFriends, and I asked him, because he was at VCon, and I missed VCon, but I asked him, like, what do you guys want to work on? He goes, well, like, we'd never done an event like that. He's like, it's way different when, like, 99.99% of companies and people will never throw an event like that. And so it's way different, because all you see is just little clips and videos of people doing events. You're like, oh, that's easy. But like, I know people who do event planning. That shit is not easy at all. What would you guys change for next time, you think?
So I think next time we probably change the structure. So for the first day, we had so many people there for food in the morning. Like, it was just line out the door for food.
Did you do Australian breakfast, or did you do like a English muffin, or what'd you do?
The event company we work with is Americans. They're like, we got these like sandwich things. I don't know what they were called. Like, I was like, let's do breakfast burgers. And they were like, what's a burger? And I'm like, what do you mean, what's a burger? Like, it's a burger. And so anyway, so there were like these sandwich things. And we had a bunch of like, we had a gluten-free option, we had a vegan option, we had meat options. Like, we had all the things for all the different people, which is important. But like, you know, I don't think we would do breakfast every other day, because you know, people would go out so late, and then they're not going to come at 8 a.m. So breakfast, like, capacity was way less every other day. So we ended up giving food away to like people around the block, and making sure like the food didn't go to waste. But I think breakfast structure, we would change that. I think probably shorten it. You know, like, we had 4 days, which was great, and people loved it. But I think 2 days would probably be enough. And additionally, like, I think as much as everyone loves the concept of pre-drinking and pre-partying before going out, a lot of people just wanted to hang out with us and like hang out at our space. So there was a few disappointed people at the end of the night, like when we were like, all right, like, it's time to go to your own parties. You know, a few people were like, oh, we just want to stay here. And that's totally fair enough. So I think we'd probably shorten it in half, remove breakfast on one of the days, and probably go much later into the evening. And I think that's probably a good happy medium based on that experience. Yeah,
100%. This is a great question, actually. This was going to be my next question, and Tom asked it for me. What do you think NFT MLC will look like next year? His hypothesis was it won't look anything like this past year. He said it might be a lot more lame, honestly. Like, I'm not sure what to expect. Like, projects might run out of fucking money by next year. Like, I don't know what it's going to look like. What do you think?
Look, like, all right, that gets us onto the NFT market as a whole. So here's my hypothesis, right? There are a lot of projects right now that have gone incredibly well. And they're purely based around, a lot of it is based around culture, like the Bored Ape Yacht Club. It's really cultural. Like, yes, they have events. Yes, they have merchandise. Yes, they have a mini game here and there. But like there's no other project on the planet that would be doing those things and still keep to where they are today, right? It's cultural. What's holding them up is culture. Same with some other projects that have gone through some waves, right? Like Azuki, definitely gone through some waves.
Yeah, huge waves.
with, stuff like that. And that's life. Okay, these things happen, whether you like it or whether you don't. These things happen. But again, it's really held up by culture because it's such a good cultural demonstration of anime and sort of Asian style culture in a PFP. People love it. They resonate with it, right? It's really important. However, there are a lot of projects that are trying to be cultural that just don't have the steam behind them in order to stay relevant from a cultural segment. So then we'll probably draft into a lot of the projects that have a working product or some actual tangible value. That's where we'll see products and projects start to grow. Because if you are purely trying to rely on culture, you either have it or you don't. And like Psychedelics Anonymous, as an example, we have a bit of culture. Yeah, sure. We have a great community. There's a bit of culture there, but culture by no means is going to keep Psychedelics Anonymous alive. Like we need a working actual product which people are using and mass adopting in order for us to sustain ourselves and for us to continue thriving.
Yeah.
Without that it doesn't exist, right? So those projects that are trying to build products are the ones that are going to come forth. However, building a product is very difficult. Building a product that's usable, friendly, stable, there's actually a need for it. These things are very difficult to do. So similar to how you said in the early days of tech, there's a lot of people and a lot of companies that that they failed, right? And that's the same with NFT collections. We'll see the exact same with NFT collections. However, those web companies that were fighting it out in those that early tech boom, they helped path the way for your Amazon, right? Like they did things, they tried things that either did or did not work for Amazon to be enabled to thrive, essentially. So it's a necessary evil in a sense that all these people and projects want to get out there and try new things because we need to know whether they're going to work or not. Someone has to try it. And sometimes it comes down to execution, for sure. However, sometimes it comes down to just the thing that they're trying to make just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that's something we have to realize. So with all these NFT projects coming around, with a bear market coming in, a lot of people getting flushed out, a lot of people that have lost money, especially the ones that bought during the top, like their relationship with NFTs is definitely frustrating and will grow to be more frustrating. And that is unfortunately a necessary evil for this space to push, which is why for us, like we will always do things differently. We'll always do things differently because whether I'm going to tell you now, like it's either going to go to zero or it's going to be the best thing ever, right? There's no in between. And that's with every NFT project that exists. It's either going to go to nothing or it's going to be something significant. There's no in between. So when we try things, when we do things, when we sold 38,000 NFTs on day one, which was wild, and a lot of people a lot of shit for that. And like there was a YouTube video, I remember some guy being like, these guys are crazy. Yeah, and this isn't gonna happen. And that's fair enough, right? That's totally fair enough. I respect everyone's opinion, but like we need to as an industry try new things to see if they work in order to grow. And that is a necessary evil. Now it's unfortunate that there are obviously going to be people swept up in this. And I think that's where it comes down to ethics and intent. If you have good intent, if your intention is to try something new, to do something different, to pave a way for technology to thrive, then you have every reason to be here. Yeah. However, if your intention is to make a shitload of money and run away, then you shouldn't be here. And that's something that needs to be distinguished. And I think that's something that's currently being defined and also flushed out.
Yeah, for sure. I remember there was I forget who I was watching, and he basically said there are some people who are put on this earth to be the guy or the girl to instill a little bit of self doubt. He goes, my job is to defy all odds, and then your job is to think I can't. And that perfect balance of the universe is what happens. There's some people who want to take over the world or change the world or do whatever they want. There's some people who suck and they're just trying to, steal your money. And there's some people who aren't chasing their dreams and they just want to shit on people. And I think I say probably most people, especially watching right now, have dealt with some form of like just straight up fucking hate. And honestly, until I started doing YouTube, I never in my life did I imagine people would just go out of their way to just actually try and rip you down. Just like, wow, what are you doing? But that's not the majority of people. I would say it's it's like a fraction of what usually happens. Most of the time, it's very, very consistent, good-natured questions. And here's a great one from Sandy and also Urine Big Truby. And they say, what is that product for you guys? Like, what is your staple thing? I know Psychedelic Anonymous Genesis NFT collection will be the staple NFT, but what is the main product that you guys are looking to launch?
So it's a great question. And the answer is it's a few phases. We recognize that if we are trying to build a product, that the product has a chance of being successful and also has a chance of failing. Okay. So that's why we're splitting resources to make sure we have three attempts at three different things. There's three different things that we're working on to be that product for us. The first one is around education and around mental health. Our aspiration always, based on my own mental health struggles, have been to try and help people other than myself with things that they have dealt with. Because I've been there and I know how hard it is. And I know my friends have been there and my family have been there. And I know that is rough. So when me and Adam were thinking about this, we were thinking we have to create a business, but first we also want to have a sort of underlying mission. So the coaching application that we've developed and deployed at the moment, which is being beta tested by our Genesis holders of the Psychedelics Anonymous NFT. Currently, we've had 2,000 people out of our total holder base use that and sign up to that. It runs free educational sessions with experts in Discord security, Discord setup, cybersecurity, so helping you look after your assets. DeFi as well. There's a guy in there that's helping people with street art and Photoshop applications and how to make NFTs. We're onboarding a life coach. We're onboarding a breathing specialist and someone to help with yoga and meditation. And that is our educational platform. Now, that platform, obviously, education exists in so many different formats. However, this is the first time it will exist in probably not the first time. Okay, that's probably an incorrect statement, but it's a form of existence in a Web3 environment. You log in with your token, that is your access pass, that gives you it for free. And we've had, tens of sessions now with the people on the platform, and they're giving value to our holders. That's one product. Now, how do we monetize that? It's a great question. We'll be able to gate the product to certain communities, and based on that community, they will have to pay a token, which is where the Psy Foundation, which will create the Psy token, which is the token that underlies our ecosystem, will be used to pay for sessions. So if you can imagine any education platform in Web 2, there are sessions you have to pay to go. Is the same exact concept in a crypto setting where your NFT is the access pass and your account, and the token is what you pay in order to book and join the session. So in a very quick, holistic explanation, that is that product. The second product that we are working on is trait swapping. So I fundamentally believe, and anyone who knows this or knows me, knows that my Bored Ape Yacht Club has a hoodie on Twitter. You'll also know that hoodie is not a trait of the Bored Ape Yacht Club. It is not. It is something that I decided to put on my ape after a couple of months because I honestly, to be perfectly frank with you, I got super sick of the stunt jacket. I can't even bear to look at it. Like, I just don't like it, right? Like,
I'm showing it on screen so people can see the zoomed out version, so people know what you're talking about.
I genuinely do not like the stunt jacket, okay? Like, not at So I put the hoodie on, and someone photoshopped it on for me, right? So I was like super grateful about that. I was like, awesome, cool. Like I've got the hoodie now, and I've just kept that ever since. So that was at that point, right? I realized, hold on. If we're going to hit mass adoption, if people are going to use NFTs as their identity, they're going to want to change it. Why would they want the same thing forever?
Right.
Makes no sense. Like, you tell me, when have you ever wanted the same thing forever?
I mean, we can ask all husbands and wives this question, man.
Sorry?
So we can ask all the husbands and wives out there, man.
Yeah, like never, right? Like no one wants the same thing. We all use a wardrobe every day. We all pick a different shirt, a different t-shirt, a different hat. We change our hairstyle. We change our hair color, right? Like, we always change whatever it is from an apparel perspective. We've seen it in gaming, game skins, Fortnite skins. It's just evident. So the second product that we're working on, which is already enabled with the Psychedelics Anonymous collection, is the ability to go into a marketplace and swap out the traits. So you'll be able to buy and sell your traits of your NFT, whether it's in our case, your hoodie, your suit, your mask, your headpiece, your neck piece, whatever it may be, your pin, your zipper, and you can change your NFT dynamically and sort of purchase traits and upload it to your NFT, and therefore it changes the look and feel of it and changes the metadata. Now, that process is relatively technical, but the user experience will be incredibly simple. And so with that, we are planning on implementing that with a number of NFT collections that exist in this field at the moment, and allow their users to be able to change the traits of their NFTs. It also, more importantly, allows the creators to drop new traits, which is exciting, right? Like, if you're a World of Women, right, and you decide to drop say you do a collab with Dolce & Gabbana, and there's a Dolce & Gabbana clothing piece that you want to drop, and you want to maybe sell it at a 0.5 ETH Dutch auction and, sell 100 units only. This will allow you to do that. And then the people who buy that piece of clothing will be able to equip it to their NFT, and it will reflect. So it's not just Photoshop, it's actual change to the structure of the ERC 721 token. So that's the second product. Now, both of those fall under the Psychedelics Anonymous brand, and that is something that they're being worked on with the funding of Psychedelics Anonymous. However, the third product which we're working on is a where to earn product, and that is stemmed around the EZU collection, which we're currently working on.
Yeah, and I see a lot of people asking about EZU, so I'm sure you've been getting all those questions about EZU too. But
heaps. So because of that, I might give a little bit of a debrief on EZU specifically. So Psychedelics Anonymous is the first project under VOLTURA Labs. It is a single project. Now, misconception. It is broken down into many collections. Like a chess game is broken down into many pieces, or a Monopoly game is broken down into many pieces, because it's a game. And people make decisions with the pieces that they have, and they trade them. That's how it was engineered. So that is the first project that VOLTURA Labs has. The second project that VOLTURA Labs will launch will be EZU. EZU is a fashion-forward project with a team of different individuals. It's not the same people that work on Psychedelics Anonymous, apart from myself with marketing and strategy, because of course it's in my vested interest too. I'm one of the public officers of VOLTURA Labs. And then Adam, who is obviously, again, a public officer of VOLTURA Labs. So therefore he's helping advise on some creative needs as well.
Yeah, shout out Adam.
Yeah, shout out Adam. And so there's two guys from the PA community that are working with us on EZU, Kyle and Zach. Kyle is the product manager and will be the head product manager at EZU. And Zach is a giga brain engineer who is probably one of the most smarter person on the planet that I've ever met. And both of them are working with us on creating a where to earn concept. Now, Megan Casper is someone that I've been working with and chatting to for a long time. And she is working with us on product strategy and advisorment. And basically, in a nutshell, if you want to sum it up in a very quick minute, Zach and Kyle have created and working on NFC chips, which we will put into clothing. The NFC chips, which are tiny, and I have them in my hand. I met with them this morning at breakfast, and we'll have a look at them, are able to be sewed into tags of clothing. The NFC chip has a storage life of about 100 years, and it's always on. So it's like an AirPod AirTag where it has a little battery in it.
Nice.
And essentially what we'll be able to do is tell what a user is wearing and when. This allows us to provide retail companies with after sale analytics. So when you go to a store and you buy a black t-shirt, you are never going to hear from that customer again. And you're never really going to figure out, are they wearing the black t-shirt? When do they normally wear it? Is it nighttime? Is it during the day? Is it to the movies? Is it with these friends? Who are they wearing it with? Like, what's their demographic? What we'll be able to do, similar to Steppen, is we will be able to pair the data collected from the NFC chips, and we'll be able to use that data to inform retail brands about what their customers are doing with their clothing. When are they wearing it? How are they wearing it? Who they're with when they're wearing it? And as a result, every time you pair your piece of clothing to your device, you get paid in token. So it's the same as Steppen, where every time you walk outside and you have the Steppen app on, you get paid in token. That is the value exchange.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the additional aspect to that is being a billboard. So with some of the clothing that we'll onboard, there might be a really big brand name across the front of your t-shirt, as an example, right? When someone wears a piece of clothing that has a huge brand name across the t-shirt and they're walking around the middle of Manhattan, they're going to get paid extra because they're essentially a walking billboard.
Ah, I see.
Correct.
Very cool.
So Izu is an NFT collection centered around where to earn capabilities. And not only does it have some of the probably best 3D art out there, it's going to be able to power this network, which we're going to be able to provide people with token for wearing clothes that they would normally wear on a daily basis. And that, for me and Megan specifically, she believes that based on her industry experience, that's probably one of the biggest opportunities for us as a collection to exist. Now, how does that tie back to Psychedelics Anonymous? Well, Izu and the Where to Earn will use the Psy token. And who yields Psy token? Genesis holders of Psychedelics Anonymous. So it all stems back. But in summary, in a quick summary, the three products are educational tool used with Psy to purchase, the Divine Entities Marketplace, which is trade swapping, which again uses Psy as transaction fees. And then third is Izu's Where to Earn, which again uses Psy.
Yeah.
So those are the three products that we are going after at full speed. And now they will either become the biggest thing on the planet or they will go to zero. There's no ifs or buts. That'll be it. And with, for instance, Steppen is incredibly popular, incredibly useful, and they have multiple coins, and a lot of them are at a $500-600 million US market cap in this market. It's an actual product that people use. So I'm really excited to develop all of those three. And I think as a team, resource-wise, we have the ability to do that. And that's the product. Those are the products.
Yeah, and that's what you got to have. I don't know if people quite have thought about it in that sense that, and I mean, I think it's common knowledge now that NFTs are just startup businesses, but I don't know if people know that. But that's what it is. And with any business, you have to have something that is necessary. And it's only so long. I mean, there's a reason that Board Yacht Club has introduced the Other Side Land and has introduced secondary and tertiary collections, because they have to come up with something. It can't just rely on just the PFPs. I mean, even with punks, like that lasted a long time, years, and then they got acquired by Yuga, and now Yuga's trying to give them rights back. I imagine they'll do something just to add a little bit more benefit. Because one thing that was interesting is that I made a video where I gave CryptoPunks like a B rating or something like that. And a bunch of people got upset about it. And the reason I gave was like, look, even if you're like Super Mario, for example, which is a legendary character, everyone knows who Mario is and Luigi and all those characters. But like, how relevant is Mario to our generation right now? Like people who are 15 to 25, they're like, oh yeah, I've heard of Mario, but like I don't care about him. Like he's in a couple of games I've played maybe, but he's not actually relevant anymore. Like how do you maintain that relevancy? And it can be a little bit of that with the branding, like you guys have with Psychedelic Anonymous, a little bit with the idea of the mental health, and just fighting to live and have mental clarity and peace and stuff. And there's also an aspect of product that you have to sell that is actually going to do something. And it can't just be clothes. It can't just be something you're selling more of and more of, because you'll get hate for that eventually.
You have to create a business, right? And at the moment, we've donated over 250,000 USD to charity. Holy at shit. This point.
Holy shit.
Which is a mixture of to psychedelic research facilities, but it's also a mixture of to mental health facilities as well. And like that's one thing that we can do, but money is just money. Okay, like there's other ways to help. We were aspiring to build a decentralized mental health application. That was what we wanted to build, and we were working towards that. And the infrastructure is done. However, we hit a lot of regulatory hurdles. It's very hard to build a decentralized mental health application. There's a lot of rules and a lot of red tape that we were trying to overcome, and aspiring to overcome. And that was something that we really struggled with, because we wanted to provide members with free mental health support. So because we realized that was going to take a lot more time, we have partnered up with a third party, and now anyone with the Psychedelics Anonymous Genesis can get access to 24/7 crisis help. They can get access to therapy and coaching for free, like paid for by us, and not just them, but their families as well. And that is something that we will continue to do. And we're going to do the same thing with EZU. So anyone who buys an EZU will give the same exact benefit to them. But you have to have an overarching business that you want to succeed if you want to make a tangible difference in this world, especially in this NFT world.
Yeah.
And it's the collections that make tangible businesses that will end up succeeding, unless they are driven solely by culture, which some will be driven by solely by culture.
How long do you think those could last? How long do you think those could last, as like realistically, just on the culture?
Culture depends on the strength. Depends on the strength, mate. Like, okay, let's look at some quantitative things. So PA Genesis at the moment is around 1 ETH or something. We today have one of our massive holders selling a lot of PA Genesis. I know who that is personally, and they've got some personal reasons, and they're unloading all of their bags, including a bunch of other projects that they bought into. So at the moment we're at like 1 ETH. So that is what, 12 to 15 times our mid price, which we minted for, right? That's where we're at. However, our whole time high was 5 ETH, right? So that was where we got to. We got to 5. Now, you may look at Azuki, for instance. Their mint price was, I think, around 1 ETH, I believe. How much is in Azuki today? I think around, is it just under 10?
Somewhere around there, yeah, somewhere in that area.
It's like 8 or 9, right? Okay, so they're 8 or 9x up, but they hit like 30. Didn't they hit 30? I believe.
Dude, yes, I don't. Yeah, they did. Crazy. I don't know how, but
like good on them, killing it. So that's where they're sitting. So then look at Yuga. That's as an example, right? Bored Apes. They got to, I think, 120. 130?
Yeah, somewhere around, anywhere from 120 to 150. I think there was a couple sales in the 150. I don't know if they ever like touched that and held that, but
Yeah. So, you know, massive upswing. And what are they sitting at? Like 85, 80 something, you know, like
Yeah.
what they mint at 0.08, if that, I think. You know,
Dude, I just remember when they were at 0.3 ETH and I saw a video and I just like I didn't even like think to buy one. I just like saw it and I was like, nah. Like not even a second glance. I'm just like, oh, bro.
yeah. Oh,
My God.
hindsight's 2020. Like,
Oh,
you know, like if you came back to me and you're like, you know how everyone's like, what would you do if you know, a year ago or 5 years ago or something, or had time machine? Mate, I would buy every single Bored Ape on the planet. I wouldn't even buy Bitcoin. Fuck
okay,
Bitcoin.
tell me this. How have you not
I buy
sold
the entire Bored Ape collection.
how have you not sold the NFT? Like I don't know how many Bored Apes you have, but like how do you not sell a Bored Ape at 120 ETH floor?
So, like, I stopped trading NFTs in December. I
Okay.
decided, you know, I recognize that there is a bit of a conflict of interest at times, especially when you become a person that gets given information without asking for it. You know, someone might come to me and say, "Hey, you know, this is about to happen, and you know, it's gonna, you know, pump this floor and da da da." Like that happens all the time. Okay, and that for me is too much of a conflict of interest. I don't want to put myself in that position. I don't want to risk myself like that.
Yeah.
So in December, I just said, you know, I'm never trading an NFT again. Like I've got my own project. If my project goes well, I don't need to think about making money from stupidly flipping things or promoting NFTs or doing anything like that. Like I've never run a promotion. I've never been paid. I haven't even, the only thing that I've done with NFTs personally since December is sell my ApeCoin at $18, which was a hero move.
Oh shit.
and sell a World of Women at 8 ETH. That's it.
Dude, that's fire.
Like, you know, like look at my wallet. Like legit, that's the only stuff that I've done since December. So you know, like I think about trading NFTs, I think about the market as a whole. And like when I was watching the Bored Ape Yacht Club just before the other side dropped, get to like, you know, 100, 120, whatever it was ridiculous. And I was thinking, holy shit, like, you know, that's nuts. But I'm not. It's my Bored Ape Yacht Club is my identity. Like 2745 is me. You know, like unless I change my identity, which would be a really big move,
Huge move.
then I'm not changing it. So I've never had a hesitation since December. I have never hesitated. I've never thought about selling it, to be honest. Like actively, I have thought that if I ever did, I would need to pick something else as my identity, and I'd need to, you know, go all in on that. But you know, I think that the real problem is emotion and FOMO, and which is why, you know, you said before, you know, sometimes you get hate. Mate, I get heaps of hate. Heaps of stuff that we do gets hate. Heaps of it. All the time. But as someone very smart said to me once, if you're not ruffling any feathers, you're not doing anything right. So that's just life. And when it comes to NFTs, it's very emotional. And that's what you have to respect.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I want to jump into a little bit about you as a person too. Like we talked a lot. I wanted to get through some of the like Psychedelic Anonymous technical stuff because I know tons of people had questions about it. I was even super interested on hearing about this stuff. I remember when you guys launched, but like obviously the Psychedelic Anonymous project and then Easy's a bit different, different styles of project. I don't know how much. Sorry, I don't know. I feel like Psychedelic Anonymous is like your baby brainchild kind of thing. Like comes from the heart, it's everything, and the Izu is just like next step from that extension of that. But with Psychedelic Anonymous, that came from you having mental health issues yourself. You had a bunch of things that you were working through, and you were like, okay, this is something that a lot of people struggle with too. We can start a project here. What are the things that like go through your mind, like when you go for a walk? Like, do you have any practices like that? I know you said you have a bunch of things that you do to make sure you're productive and stuff. What kind of things are running through your mind when you're on a walk or something?
So I think realistically, I think when it stems back firstly to the project, we wanted to create a project because I thought it was a beautiful space that we were in, and it was a part of technology that we wanted to evolve, and we wanted to participate, right? Like you see this stuff happen, and we want to participate. So when we started the project, we wanted to create tech products, which are the things that I described before. But the underlying mission, the underlying sort of benefit is that if we were able to do it successfully, we want to help people in some way, shape, or form because of our own experiences with mental health and our own struggles there, which are still absolutely present and valid. So for me as a person, to keep myself really together, I need a routine. And that's why I wake up at the same time basically every day. I go to breakfast at the same place every single day. And the people know me there and have known me there for 2.5 years, right? And I don't even say anything to them. It's at 5:30 in the morning, they just look at me and I look at them and I nod and they say good morning and I sit down and my food comes, my coffee comes and I eat it and I leave. There's no conversation, there's a mutual understanding. Because I said to them years ago, I said, hey, look, I'm just going to come at the same time every day. And I just want to sit down and have my food and leave. I don't want to talk to anyone, don't want to do anything. And so I have this routine where I'll get up, I'll have my clothes outlined for me. I'll go get into the car. I'll drive to, this is so weird. You'll laugh at this literally. But this is no lie. This is complete truth. So I'll get into the car and I'll turn the car on and I'll put one specific song on that I love that I'm definitely not disclosing.
Oh, no,
and then I drive to the coffee shop, right? And it's the coffee shop that I've known since I was a kid. And all the people, again, know me there. And I'll get a coffee there. I'm not joking. I'll get a coffee there and I'll get back into the car. And then I'll drive another 10 minutes to go to the cafe where I eat.
Get the fuck out of here. Are you serious?
Yeah. And then I'll eat. And then I'll get back into the car and I'll drive home. And why? Because I love driving. Driving calms me down. It centers me. It calms me down. I love going, I love going for a drive. It's just my thing, right? And I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with that.
I definitely can.
So in the mornings, I'll get up, I'll go into the car, I'll put on this song, I'll drive to the coffee shop, I'll grab my coffee, I get back into the car, I drive to the cafe, eat my food, come back home. And then by the time I'm home, I'm back in the zone. I'm in, I'm plugged in, I get to work. And then, at some stage I'll get to the gym. I haven't been as consistent to the gym as I should be. And that's just because of work and stress and life. But that's okay. But that's normally my routine. But in terms of going for a walk, my equivalent of walking is driving. If I'm going for a walk on the weekend with some friends, it's just because we're going for a hike and we're getting some sun and we're getting some fresh air and stuff like that. Me as a person, I have to keep myself incredibly structured, which is why when I'm overseas, I'm here for shorter periods of time.
Gotcha.
I'm here for one event. And to go to LA to handle something in a warehouse. And I'm gone. I arrived here, 4 days ago. I'm gone on Saturday.
Nice.
That's it. Because it throws me out of whack. I don't like it. I like my small routine. You know what I mean? So that's what keeps me happy.
Yeah, dude, I definitely resonate with the things you said in the car. I doubt you know this, but I lived in a car probably, I think it was August, so about 14 or 15 months ago. I was working at a restaurant. I was doing YouTube, but I wasn't in NFTs or doing NFT YouTube or anything like that. I wasn't full time. I was working at a restaurant and I was making decent money and I was like, yo, what am I doing? Am I just gonna work at a restaurant? I'm college educated. I don't like my degree though. I made a huge mistake and all these things. And so I got this idea. I was like, yo, I really want to do this van life thing, but I don't feel like dropping $10,000 or $15,000 on a van. So I basically ripped apart my mom was about to sell her hybrid car, and I basically took that off her, transfer into this mobile car, and I was like, fuck it, I love driving so much. I'm just going to live in this car for 6 months or however long it's going to be and travel the country. So I basically just did that, basically broke, lived around the country, lived in my car. And I have had 20, I think my longest drive was probably 30 hours to go somewhere. I don't even remember what it was, but you fucking go through so many thoughts. This is why this project is so interesting to me, because I forget how many it is, but you go through thousands of thoughts a day, dude. And when you're driving, it's a weird feeling of especially if you arrive somewhere, it's a good feeling. You get somewhere, it's a very physical, you get in, you go somewhere, and then you arrive, and then you can go back. But it's a really interesting thing. You go through so many thoughts. Do you end up working through a lot of your things in your head while you're driving? Is that why you love it?
No, so the opposite, mate. When I'm driving, I'm not thinking about, actually, I think it depends. there are times where I'll get into the car and I'll just, like I'll be driving and I'll be playing music and I won't be thinking about anything, right? And it's time where I don't have to think about anything. Nothing's running through my head. Like I'm completely zen.
Mm.
But then there's other times where I'm critical thinking in the car. And I guess that's where probably you're coming from. And it really depends what's happening in my life at that current point in time. But generally speaking, I want to make sure that my car time, like my driving time, is complete zen. It's not like having a shower. Like when I'm in the shower, for whatever reason, mate, I'm making the most complicated decisions while I'm in the shower. It makes absolutely no sense to
Oh
me
God.
whatsoever. And that's fine. But like, when I'm in the car, especially in the morning, I'm trying to just like relax. That's what the objective is for sure.
That is so interesting. Yeah, I think I've just driven. I think if you drive a lot, you definitely have just different cycles, different styles of what's going on in your life. That is really, really interesting about that whole thing. I've never heard anyone say it like that actually, or quite word it the way you did of working through things when you drive. But I imagine that's why a lot of people like to drive. I'm sure people in the chat right now probably resonate with that. And then you said you go and hit up the gym. I know you're not going to drop your music, but like, what's your favorite gym day? And then also, I saw Sandy asked if you want to disclose either what car you have or what car is like your dream car.
So ever since I was a kid, my dad used to race cars as a hobby, right?
Wait, your dad was just a low-key a car racer? That is so
as
legendary.
a hobby, yeah, as a hobby. He wasn't around a lot when I was younger. He worked very, very hard. As when I was young, he was very, very hard worker. And he's a very, very intelligent man. And he raced cars, and his favorite thing ever was cars as well. So I grew up around cars. He was an engineer, mechanical engineer. I grew up around a car workshop. My granddad had cars. All of us had cars. I started watching the Formula One when I was like in diapers, right? We've been a really big car family forever. So one thing I don't spend money on clothes. I don't spend money on dumb stuff. Like I only believe spending money on things that I actually use, including, shoes, for instance, the old Gucci shoes thing. Like I wear these shoes every single day, like fine. A phone, fine. I use that every single day. A car, fine. Like, I use the car every single day. So I've got two cars, and one's a more sporty car that I've had for a while, and then my other car is a Tesla.
Damn.
I'm all good on the Elon, which is great. But no, I've loved cars forever, and I always will. I remember the first time I bought myself a new car by myself, years and years ago. I remember my dad going off at me. He was like, "What are you doing? Why?" And I'm just like, "Look at you! Like, where do you think it came from, dude?" So anyway, a bit of funny backstory there. But for the gym, so I think the gym is something that's taken the biggest toll from this line of work. I used to go to the gym, 6 days a week. I used to be 10 kilos heavier than I am now, a lot stronger than I am now.
Likewise, I agree. I'm the same, dude.
Yeah,
I used to be way bigger.
yeah. So, like I used to be really quite strong and really quite fit. And that was something that it helps me again mentally. But it was just a good routine for me to stick in. And that is something that has definitely slipped. So look, my favorite sort of day, like I normally do push, pull, legs, break, push, pull, legs. So I reckon push is everyone's default favorite in that circumstance. Yeah, look, I love the gym and I always have, but I recognize that the next couple of years for me are going to be quite busy. So I'm gonna be busy and I'm gonna do that, and then I can put a larger emphasis on myself, in the years to come. I by no means am I in bad shape. Like I'm not in trouble, like physically, like I'm okay and I go when I can, but I would much rather be in better shape at the end of the day.
Yeah, I've actually heard this from a few people, especially business owners, where they're like, before you do something big like that, you know, gym is typically for a lot of people like their big highlight for the day, where they put all their energy into that 2 hours of the gym kind of thing. And for me, it used to be like that for sure. And now that I'm at this point where video content is my main thing, it's like if I go and just absolutely go crazy and break my body down, it actually makes me like super inefficient the rest of the day. I'm fucking drained, I'm tired, I'm lazy. Like my self-discipline kind of drops after the gym. Have you noticed that too? Is that kind of why you stepped a little bit away from it?
It's interesting because mine not exactly the same there. Like, you know, when I'm sticking to my routine really well when I'm back home, I'll go to the gym straight after I eat. So like I'll eat, you know, like I'll get up at, like I'll be awake at like 4:45, 5, and then I'm on my phone like handling emails, because again I'm on the other side of the world, right? So everything comes in overnight. So I'm handling stuff on my phone till like 5:30. I go have a quick shower, so that's 5:45. I'm in the car by 5:50, and then I'm at the cafe by 6 when they open. I get a coffee. Then I'm at the next place at 6:15 to get my food. I'm done eating by like 6:45, and then I'll get to the gym just before 7. And then I'll be at the gym from 7 till 8. And then, you know, I can get home at like 8:15 and start working. And that routine, you know, for me, when I come back from the gym, if I'm new to it, like i.e. the last 7 days I haven't gone to the gym because I've been packing, working a lot, and then traveling. So when I go back, I'll go to the gym, and afterwards I'll be exhausted. It'll take a serious toll on my mental and my body. But when I'm in the swing of my full routine, it like focuses me. Like, you know, like I'm like, I got my energy out. I got my nervous energy out. Like I can stand and I can work.
Yeah.
And I can be focused. And so that for me works. But when I come back off after not doing it for a while, it just tires me out like beyond belief.
Yeah, man, it's a cycle thing. Like every now and then I'll be in this mindset of like go hard, like David Goggins style. Just like go, go, go. Like, don't stop, don't stop. But then there's some days where I'm like, yo, I did not sleep last night or the night before. I do not need to go on this run and pass out in the middle of the street. And so I'll take a day off, and it'll be like a little bit of a mental break. And it's weird because not too much changes in the day, but then dude, the next day I am fired up. Like I have this pent up energy. Like if I don't go for a run, if I skip a run one day, the next day, dude, I am like feeling, I'm like, I want to either punch something or do 1,000 push-ups or run. Like there's some exertion that you get out of going to the gym and running and stuff. I've been out of the gym. I just moved to Seattle. So I've just honestly been loving running around, sightseeing and stuff. And so I've just been running, but it's such a good feeling to just get out and just exert a little bit of energy. It does help, but there are good times where you can step away and then you can come back and go. It's like a good little push and pull.
I think you're totally right. I think especially when you're in a routine, you take a break because you need to take a break every now and then. Like I love David Goggins, and there's a bunch of guys that are like that, right? That are like just discipline. You do it, you know what I mean? But you do have to take a break. Like, you know, it's great marketing and it's great publicity and it's great branding to just be like, oh, never, not ever taking a break ever. But we are normal humans. Like I'm not a Navy SEAL, okay? Like I need a day, okay? I need a day sometimes, and that's fine. But I get you because you take the day, and during the day, I'm like, I want to go to the gym. Like I feel like going to the gym. Like I'm tired and I'm resting.
Right.
Like going to the gym. So then the next day, I'm like, let's go. Like I'm ready to absolutely rumble because I've had that day off. But look, I think physical activity, whether it's going for a walk, like the simplest thing, walking around the block, can be so beneficial to you physically and mentally, you know, and that's where some people need to start.
Yeah.
You know, when I was really young, I was very introverted, very small guy. Like, you know, I was tall, I was just skinny. And, you know, getting into the gym was one of the most intimidating things I've ever done. But
really?
It's
okay.
Things that I've done, even though it took me a long time to get my groove, it was really important. And not only was it really important there, it really helped my mental health. And that's something that I'll be forever grateful for. And funnily enough, actually, the day before I left to the US this week, my personal trainer, right, who actually coached me in school for basketball.
Really? Okay, that's cool.
Coached me in school when I was a kid. And And then I've been training with him ever since. And it's, he's now a really, really good friend of mine, because it's been like 9 years, 10 years, 9 years ish, right? 10
Wow.
years.
Wow.
And anyway, the day before I came here, it was actually his Bucks party. So the night before, the day before, we were all out to lunch with his Bucks party, having a great time. And I was flying the morning after, which was a bit of a rough flight, but that's okay. But yeah, like, sometimes, whether you've got something, a friend, someone who knows the gym well, someone who's into the gym, like getting someone to try and sort of take you and help you, like, because they will want to, right? You and I both know, if someone's into the gym and a friend's asked them, "Oh, can you sort of like show me the ropes?" They're going to be like, "Absolutely."
Hell yeah.
And sometimes that's all you need to do. And that's definitely what I did. And I'll never regret it.
Yeah, man. I remember my sister told me a story about this kid who she ended up, I forget if she ended up dating him, but he told me that when he started, he was also tall, lanky, and he was getting started. He said the first it was either 3 days or 3 weeks. We'll go with 3 weeks because it's a cooler story if it's 3 weeks. He said for the first 3 weeks, he would walk into the gym, go to the very first treadmill, so he didn't have to like step in any further into the gym, and would just walk for 3 hours, dude. He would walk for 3 hours in this treadmill, and after 3 weeks, he finally just was like, okay, like I'm good. I can kind of like move on to like the third or fourth treadmill. And then he slowly built his way in. But I totally agree. When I first got started in the gym, I was like maybe 13, 14, 15. And I had basically a mentor. He was like my dad. I think it was my neighbor's stepdad, something like that. And he was big into the gym. So we just started going with him because we didn't know what we were doing. And he was just like, all right, bench press, curl. And like, that's the only things I've fucking heard. I just did a bunch of curls and a bunch of bench press. And that was like my staple. But
yeah. Like, it's so fun. Like, the gym is such a nice place to be, and it's so, it's definitely new for a lot of people. And again, like when I first went, I was so intimidated, man. Like I was so intimidated. But hey, like you get used to it, and then it becomes like a really good outlet. And
yeah,
it's funny because now that I've been going for so long, like I know everyone there as well. Like I know everyone. Like, so it's a nice place. It's a good social place. You don't even have to talk to anyone. You just walk in and give a couple of people the nod, and like, yeah, exactly. I'm here. You know what I mean? Like, it feels good.
Wait, do they know about your like alter ego?
No one knows.
Get out of here! What the fuck? They don't know.
No one knows anything, to be honest. I don't really tell anyone. Like, like people ask me what I do for work, and I just say like I'm in tech.
Dude, that is fucking crazy. That is crazy. Wow.
There's hardly anyone that knows. In Australia, like. Maybe like I've got an Instagram that's got like 200 followers on it. Like I'm not a big social media dude. I've never liked it. Like they all know ish, I guess, but they're all like childhood friends and like, school friends.
Gotcha.
But no, like during like people at the gym and stuff, they've got no idea, man. Like absolutely no clue.
That is fucking wild, dude. That's really, really cool, actually. Damn. So what were you like? So I know you said your trainer has been, you guys just know each other for so long. What do you think your teachers would have described you like in high school? Were you quiet? Were you in the back of the class? Were you like failing, or like what kind of student were you?
Man, like I really struggled with school. I didn't have, I never really had the biggest appetite for academic performance. I always got distracted. I knew from the beginning, I never want to work for anyone else. I knew that, at least, which is why I started businesses very, very young. So like I definitely was not I was a C grade student at best, and I didn't really like school. I didn't really, I didn't muck up. Like I wasn't a bad kid, but I wasn't super interested. I just cruised. I always had thoughts and feelings about other things and other businesses and what to do and how to be successful and what that looks like. I looked up to my dad a lot. He, again, like I said, he wasn't there a lot when I was young because he was working, like he was doing his thing. And he did that for us, and I always respect that. But no, I cruised through school. I had a close group of friends, but in no means was I the most popular dude at all. I went to university for a semester, and the two for a year, so 2 semesters, and like the first semester killed it, like high distinctions, good marks, great marks, because it was new and it was interesting to me.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I got that, I was bored. Like I was like, okay, well, that's fine. And then my marks just started really slipping, and I remember there was a lot of pressure from my parents on university to finish uni, so I stayed in for a bit, and then I started working. I got into the workforce very young, and I started in sales, and that's where I was taught to really how to communicate and understand people a lot better. My boss there, he really helped me a lot, and I'll be forever grateful for him. And then once I was in the workforce, that was it, man. Like I was not going to stop. I went as hard as I could to make sure that I could be successful. And I like my first business, technically, if you want to really talk about that, is I actually convinced my dad somehow to buy the family a camera, like a DSLR.
Okay. Camera. Which camera was it?
It was like it was I remember there was the big one that like had the bottom grip. It was not that one. It was like 2 tiers below. Like it was decent. It was like middle ground DSLR camera.
Do you remember what brand? Was it like Nikon?
It was Nikon. Yeah, Nikon. Okay. It was like I had like a 25 to 60 mil lens on it. Like it was a zoom lens. Like,
nice.
It was good. Like it was fine. Like I liked photography. Like. But anyway, so I convinced him to buy this thing, right? And I was like, I want to take photos. I want to do this, I want to do that. He was like, all right, like I'll buy you a camera. And I'm like, yeah, cool. And then anyway, so what I ended up doing, and this is no joke. So I started getting invited to all these like parties when I was like 16, 17.
Damn, Party Lewis, let's go.
Yeah, Party Lewis, an introverted, skinny kid going to parties made no sense. So what was the introverted skinny kid's next step logically? To grab the camera and start taking photos. So grab the camera, start taking photos. And then people would ask me to take photos and be like, oh, I'll pay you like, $200 and you can come take photos of the party and upload them and edit them, whatever. So then I started. But I didn't want to let my dad know because I thought my dad would kill me, right? Like, taking the nice camera out to parties, like, someone might spill a drink on me. I might drop it. I might break it. Like
that is true.
Yeah, totally fair. So I would, the day of a party, I would somehow at some point, I'd find the camera and I'd put it in a bag. And then I'd somehow, when no one was looking, sneak out of the house and hide the camera and in the bag in a hedge, right, across the street. And then so when I was saying goodbye to my parents, I'd be like, all right, see you, like I'm going. I'd obviously walk out with nothing, right? So I didn't look suspicious at all. I just had like a shirt on and pants on.
That's fucking legendary.
I'd grab the camera and the bag, and I'd be like, fuck yeah, let's go. So then I left. And then I go to the party, I take all the photos, I then put the camera in the bag back in the hedge. I go inside, go to bed, wake up the next morning, somehow sneak out, grab it, edit the photos, and then put them up. And so like I was doing that when I was like 16, 17. And I was, making a couple hundred bucks each week, like $300, $400, $500 each week.
Let's go.
And I was like, I like this, like it was fun. I enjoyed it. But yeah, after university, after I sort of stopped going to university, I started working at that first place. Then one of my clients poached me and I was working for them for quite a while. And then eventually I was just like, these people, I just felt like these people they weren't doing anything that I felt like I couldn't do. Mm-hmm. Like I felt like I could be doing what they were doing. So that's when I started sort of working on my own stuff. And then after a while, that's what I ended up doing. And eventually I had enough capital to sort of start up myself. And that was the beginning of VOLTURA. We went through a bunch of name changes. We went through because the first thing that I built realistically is me and a friend built a scraping tool for LinkedIn and a bot tool for LinkedIn, because my first job was to book meetings with people that clients wanted to talk to, like business meetings. And so me and a friend built this tool, and it would use LinkedIn and then LinkedIn profile as a script to basically click message, type out a message, send the message, mail merge their name. And it was when LinkedIn was quite early on. So all these people thought, of course, this message was genuinely typed out, right? It's just marketing. And so I was doing that for ages. And so for whatever reason, we thought it'd be a cool idea to call the company Boss, B.O.S.S, because it stood for best of social selling.
Yeah.
And that concept was called social selling. So that was funny. And then
Legendary.
after that, we went more into social media stuff. So I called the company Social Grind. And then I think when I was at an Australian, we had a client that was actually quite big, an Australian infrastructure group that was from the government. So it was actually pretty serious. And the lady there, this is when, I was like, I think we need to change the name. The lady there was introducing us to a bunch of the employees, and they were all sort of relatively young. And she said to me, "Oh, this is Lewis from Social Grinder." And I was just going there going, "Ooh," like I was like, "Ooh," like, no, like I don't want to be.
Yikes, that's funny.
Like, Grinder was a thing then, right?
Yeah.
So like, and heaps of people obviously use Grinder, right? And that's totally fine. I've got no issue with that.
Oh my god.
But here was this lady being like, "Oh, it's Lewis from Social Grinder," and I'm thinking, "Ooh, like that's not exactly what I would like." So then we changed the name to VOLTURA. And
wait, where did that word come from? What does VOLTURA mean?
VOLTURA?
Yeah.
So VOLTURA means transfer of service in Italian.
Okay.
So the way I found it was, and this is what I recommend to anyone. If you want a life hack, this is it. Go to GoDaddy domain auctions, type into the domain auction thing that you want a word that's like 4 or 5 characters, pick whatever you please, and then just sort by price and just scroll. Just sit there and just scroll. Eventually, you'll find someone selling a really cool word for maybe a couple grand, a grand here or a grand there, or whatever, and look it up, do some DD, make sure it's like, it doesn't mean anything vile or something like that. And that is how you find a business name. That is, if you want a hot tip, that is how you find a business name. Every single time, that's what we've done.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't use a service like that, but I basically did that. I was just like combing through I just typed in like I typed in journey and then typed in like synonyms, and I just went and scrolled and scrolled and scrolled and scrolled, and then I found Voyage, and then I found I was like, I want to combine joy and voyage, so I made it Joyage, which is my brand, which is basically just about rolling the dice on yourself, taking a chance on yourself, seeing what happens after. And I honestly didn't even write like the name that much. I thought it was kind of cheesy. I was like, oh, I'm combining 2 words. That's kind of lame. But then I ended up sticking with it, and people liked it. But I agree. That probably is the only way to find a cool name, because we're not that creative, bro. Like, I feel like you couldn't just come up with that on your own,
Yeah, like how am I going to come up with the word VOLTURA on my own? And how am I also going to secure the .com domain? Like,
yeah,
there's no way. There's no way. Just seriously, GoDaddy, domain auctions, character limit, that's it. Do that.
Facts, dude. Facts. And the thing you said just about right before with the photography thing, my background was in photography before I got into video content. So I definitely feel you on all those things with the photography, and mainly with the party thing, dude. Like, I have a switch that I can turn on that gets very extrovert. Like, I can turn that on. That's not my natural state. When I get around people, it's very easy for me to turn it on. But I don't like parties. I don't like going to like clubs and stuff like that. So for me, I always brought a camera. Like for New York, for NFT NYC, I made goddamn sure I had a camera on me 24/7, because I did not want to end up in a bar without my camera and say, oh, fuck, now I got to talk to people. Like, what if I don't want to? I don't want to sit here and look awkward. So I love having my camera and just pretending like I work there. And I'm like, no, I'm just media, bro. I'm just media. I don't got to talk to anybody. I like being behind the scenes. That's literally why I got the serving job, because I felt uncomfortable going to bars from like college. And I was like, I want to see what it's like in the back end. Like, what is it like being someone who works in the bar? And then like, you don't care because you're just doing your job. And that's kind of like the beginning starts there. So that's actually really interesting that we kind of share that same thing.
You know what? Like, same feeling. Like, look, I've been to when I was in Miami in sort of April, I went to one of the clubs because I was like, right, bucket list, sure, I'll go to one of the clubs. Let's see what it's like.
Yeah.
I went there for like half an hour. I'm like, I hate this place. But like, I'm gonna be here for another hour because like, I'll experience it. It's fine. Like,
right.
I'm gonna have a look, whatever, all good. But like, I hated it. Like, I hate clubs. I always have. take me to a nice speakeasy bar that's quiet, maybe some music and stuff. Yeah, 100%, I'm down. But like, take me to a club? No way. Hate it. Absolutely hate it. It's just like I get overwhelmed. Loud music, lots of people, flashing lights. It does not work for me at all.
Yeah, man, I totally agree with you. That is super funny. And I know I don't want to keep you too long. I know you're a super busy guy, so I have a couple like fire off. I don't even know what you call this, like rapid fire questions if you're down.
Yeah, hit me.
All right, and then also if you're in the chat, you want to have one, just drop it in. Don't ask for fucking whitelist though. Ask for like a real question you have one. All right, favorite color?
That would be like a gray monotone.
What? You are the first person I've ever asked that answered that question. Gray monotone. Yeah, okay, that's really
gray,
cool.
Monotone, organic colored guy.
Fuck it, I love that. I like the matte gray, the matte black. I love the matte colors. That is epic. Okay, favorite. I can't remember if you said it, but favorite car. I don't know if you said the exact one.
Favorite car, like I think. Favorite car to drive, I think probably like an old Porsche 911 would be fun going.
All right, fuck yeah, right on. All right, where do you want to retire at? A physical location?
Oof. Okay, so I'll always live in Australia. I think Australia is a really nice, safe, isolated place, and I would always want to live there. So I would have no problems with retiring in Australia, where I currently live or surrounding. To be perfectly honest with you.
Okay.
Near family, like I care about my family a lot. So I want to make sure I'm near them.
Do you have a big family? Like, are you like a single child or?
No, I've got a sister. But on my mum's side, there's 9 or 7. There's 7 siblings.
Whoa!
So we've got a pretty big family.
Oh, that's so cool. I've always wondered about that when I'm growing up, if I want a big family, because I think it's fun when I see like movies like Home Alone, where there's like 22 kids running around the house. I thought it would be crazy. But
chaos.
Yeah, absolutely chaos.
Each to their own, right?
Yeah, 100%. Okay, and then Mark asks, do you speak any other languages?
Look, I can speak a tiny bit of Japanese and a tiny bit of Italian, but nothing I would ever say that I'm good at.
Well, you speak Japanese?
Like hardly any. Like,
why?
I went to in 2018. I had a client who was again, this comes back to the racing stuff. So I had a client who was a famous race car driver in Japan. He raced in a series called Super GT, which is like the NASCAR of Japan, right?
Cool.
Anyway, I went to every race because I had to. It was my job. So I went to Japan 8 or 9 times in a year, and you just pick up a bit over that time. So that was a wild time. But yeah, no, I'd love to polish that off.
Hell yeah, dude. I'm half Japanese, so I used to be fluent a long time ago, and I see Mark says "sugoi." That means dope or cool. So that's actually really cool.
Like now, terrible, but back then when I was going a lot, like I was a lot better.
Yeah, man. I also want to learn it better, especially because I have family out there. And honestly, I think I can go visit. I have a big ass tattoo on my arm, and I have tattoos on my fingers. So I know they're very, very conservative, especially my mom's side. So I'm a little bit worried about going to see them in person because they would literally disown my mom if they saw I had tattoos. Like it's wild over there. They're super, super conservative. But
tattoos are what they're normally a sign of being part of the not the triad. That's
the mafia.
Not
gangs and stuff.
Right. There's a specific is Azuka. What is it called? Izuka. I think there's a specific gang out there in Japan that if you have tattoos and they're visible, they assume you're part of that. I think.
Yeah, I did not know that. I thought it was like I was like, really, dude? I was like, are you sure? Is that really a thing? And it's apparently still a thing, but I know they're starting to open up a little bit. I've heard. I've spoken to people who are a bit younger demographic in Japan, and they say it's opening up a little bit, but it's still pretty not okay still.
Yeah, I think it is opening up a little bit, but they're very conservative about that. I think because tattoos were so involved with gangs that it's like you've got a tattoo, you're a gang member, therefore we don't want you here. But yeah, no, Japan's a beautiful place. I really like Japan a lot.
It's beautiful. The okonomiyaki is one of my favorite foods there, and also they just said yakuza is the name. I think you may have said it.
Yeah, yakuza. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's it. That's what.
Shout out Japan. I fucking love Japan. I've been there a few times. And then Benjamin asked, do you have or would you hang NFT art in your house?
So I actually sold my house about 5 months ago. I somehow timed that really well with the market.
Wow.
It was a complete fluke, but it was just time to get something a little bit bigger. I was growing out of it.
Gotcha.
Yes, yeah, I totally would. I think I get screens. I think personally, I think NFT art needs to be on screens instead of printed, but that's just my personal opinion. But yeah, no, I'd love to. Whenever I get a new place, I'm just renting at the moment.
Gotcha.
So I've got a small townhouse that I rent. So I'm just. I don't even think I'm allowed to hang anything in there. So I can't put anything up. But that's okay. But eventually, in probably in the next year or so, I don't think the market's very good. So I'll probably just rent for the next year or two.
Yeah, that's probably smart.
But when I do, yeah, I think I'll put some screens up with some digital art. I'd love to do that.
Hell yeah. All right, last couple questions here. I know you guys are Psychedelic Anonymous. I don't know if you're able to talk on this. I asked the same thing to Uncle Sal, the founder of Dippies. Have you tried drugs, psychedelics? I know your thoughts on it, but have you tried it yourself?
So look, I refrain from answering that question simply just like legally. Like,
yeah,
I don't want to influence people either way. I think that just errs on the side of caution for me. Like, regardless of my experience, it means it shouldn't impact anyone else. Obviously, there's I'm helping run a collection called Psychedelics Anonymous. I obviously have some sort of connection there. However, I just don't talk on my own personal sort of experiences, because I think everyone needs to forge their own path, especially with that. And if that's something they want to go down, they definitely need to research it themselves and absolutely understand it before they do anything. So I hesitate to answer that.
I agree. I think it's a great answer. Honestly, it's probably the most responsible answer you could give. And then the last two questions: do you have a favorite alcohol, favorite beer, anything like that? I don't know if you drink anything.
So if I'm drinking beer, like on that Bucks party, because I'm drinking it, then I'll drink Carlton Draft, which is an Australian beer that tastes absolutely terrible, but it's just like culturally funny. So that's what I'll drink.
Gotcha.
But generally, gin tonics. Always gin tonics.
Damn, gin and tonics
with some cucumber, Hendrick's gin, and tonic and cucumber is my absolute go-to. I only ever really I never drink consistently. Like, I'll go weeks and months without drinking, but if I do drink it, that's what I'll drink.
Yeah, that's funny. Anything with tonic brings me back to, I remember high school. That was like one of my first ever mixed drinks was a tequila and tonic, and then
really?
and then a gin and tonic.
But tequila's good. Like, it's an upper instead of a downer. So I understand why people love tequila for sure.
Love tequila, bro. I love tequila, and honestly, it spawned from the show Lost. I don't know if you know the show Lost, the older show.
Oh no, I've heard of it and I've seen shorts and I've seen all the things, but I've never actually watched it.
You need to watch it. It does not matter what else you have in your life. That show needs to be watched at some point in your life. It is legendary. And in that show, Tequila and Tonic, one of my favorite characters, she was really hot. That's probably the main reason. But she drank Tequila and Tonic, and I remember being like, yo, I need to try that shit. And it's pretty good, honestly. I like that drink.
That's funny.
All right, final question. Guilty pleasure. Do you have one? What is your biggest one? Are you willing to disclose?
Guilty pleasure.
Or you can say, what is one weird thing you do?
Mate, I think my entire morning routine is weird as well, to be honest. I'll disclose that. Like, my guilty pleasure is the weirdest morning routine you've ever heard of. It's like, tell me what sort of person drives to a place to get a coffee and then drives further to get breakfast and then drives home. That is weird.com, and I'm into it. I'm in it. So yeah. I would say if there's going to be something weird or a guilty pleasure, that's going to be it, because I'm pretty sure everyone listening is like rolling their eyes.
I mean, it might be. I know some people swear by the way of just having a morning routine or something like that. And so I don't know if that's super weird, but I agree. I mean, there definitely are some extra steps in there. I will say that there's some definitely. I can't believe. So do you drink the coffee, by the way, or do you take the coffee and then take it to the cafe?
So I finish that coffee by the time I get to the cafe, and then they make me another coffee instantly. So by the time I'm home or at the gym, I'm double coffeed up. I'm ready to roll. It's also funny because the first place that does the coffee, it's really good. The second place, it's so average. Like, it's so average. Like, I go from really good coffee to just like, this is really not great. But like, I'll drink it anyway, whatever.
You're just sitting there drinking it. You're like, man, these motherfuckers don't even know I'm the founder of Psychedelic Anonymous, bro.
Look, there's a mutual understanding there. Like, I think last financial year, last financial year, I took them they're obviously it's cash business. Like they prefer cash.
Sure.
Like it had been like a year and a half of me going there every day basically, and them just giving me my food and whatever. And I went to the ATM and I got out like a bit of cash, and I remember giving it to the lady. There's a husband and wife that own it, and I gave it to the lady, and I was just like, here, like this is a tip, right? Because tipping doesn't really exist in Australia, okay? And she looked at me so bizarre. She was like, what? And I'm like, thank you. Like, it's been like a year and a half of you guys literally not talking to me in the morning, reserving one table and giving me my breakfast, and then me walking off when I'm done. Like, thanks. And she's like, okay. And I don't even know. I don't even think she knows my name, to be honest.
That's
like,
wild.
Say hello, like, you know, that's it. So that was funny. Very funny.
Legend. Dude, that's fucking awesome. Well, listen, I fucking really, really appreciate your time. This was a super dope conversation. I feel like we talked about so many technical things, and then we just got into life stuff, and I had a great time.
Mate, me too. It's been really cool, really down to earth. I really appreciate it. And thanks for inviting me on. It really means a lot.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah, thank you so much. So, guys, code words you made to the very end. One, I know some of you guys have been here since the very start. Thank you so much for being here with us. Code word, we are the fucking night. That is the code word for me to the very end of this video. This is not your first episode of the Joyage Kingdom podcast. I want to see OG spammed in the chat. You guys already know the drill. If you haven't already, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. I have his stuff down below in the description if you want to check him out. I think you should. He posts cool tweets. He says good morning every single fucking day. He doesn't miss. He says GM. Got to respond to him. So, guys, thank you so much for being here. Again, Lewis, thank you so much for coming on, man.
No problem, my friend. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, until next time, continue on your Joyage, continue to learn, and be grateful you're live watching this video. Bye.